What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Credit Plug channel where we talk about how to build credit, how to establish relationships with banks and financial institutions, and most importantly, how to get you access to high limit credit funding. If you're new to our channel or if you've been checking out our content, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as smash that like button. Otherwise, you could share or comment right down below. It helps our content reach a wider audience and we greatly appreciate the support. So one of the most common questions that I receive when we're talking about business credit is, what paydex score do you need in order to get a business credit card, right? There seems to be this infatuation with building up an 80 paydex score and then trying to get business credit cards. Now you see this information all throughout YouTube, people talking about building up an 80 paydex score, and there's this false assumption that you can use a paydex score to get business credit cards. Now, the ironic thing is that no one can tell you a single business credit card that exclusively pulls your paydex score for the lending decision. Now, you can get vendor types of credit with paydex, gas cards, but I'm talking about Visa, Mastercard, American Express, only using the paydex score. Now, the reason why no one can tell you is because it doesn't exist. Now, the only business credit card that exclusively uses business credit is going to be the Sam's Club Mastercard. Everyone knows this, but even Sam's Club doesn't even use Dun & Bradstreet. They're using your Experian, right? Dun & Bradstreet is optional, but they use Experian Business to make the credit decision. Now, if there's anyone out there that can tell me a business credit card that exclusively pulls paydex for the lending decision, I'm talking about a Visa or a MasterCard, I will pay you $1,000. The first person that can tell me this, and I'll also verify this information as well, you can email info@creditplug. I'll give you $1,000 to the first person that can provide this information and I verify it. So now that we've got that out the way, in today's video, we're going to be going over business credit cards that you can get without having a hard inquiry to your personal credit. Now, we did a similar video about 5 or 6 months ago, but a lot of information has changed and we've come across some new business credit cards that you can get without having to undergo a hard pull. So let's go jump over and I'm gonna walk you through all of them. All right, so first up on the list, we have the Divi Corporate Mastercard. Now, this is a credit card that I recommend for every single business owner because there's absolutely no credit check. It's very easy in order to apply. Now, some basic criteria. You just have to have a business bank account open for a minimum 3 months. They're using the Plaid API, which analyzes your banking activity, and they basically underwrite you based off of that. And they have a credit limit that can grow as your business starts to scale. And their limits go as high as $400,000. Even if you don't qualify for an unsecured account, let's say you don't have that much transactions, or if your business is very new, what you can do is you can get the prepaid version. So with the prepaid version, you just put down your deposit and then they'll issue you a card. You could build up history with them. And then in 3 months, you can transfer to an unsecured account. The Divi Corporate MasterCard is probably one of the best. It also helps you build business credit, as it says right here. You can also earn cash back, and they do have exclusive offers. So I highly recommend this for any business. So this is a great way to build business credit as well as get access to capital to help grow and scale your business. All right, so next up we have Torpogo. Now, Torpogo is somewhat similar to Divi. They have an expense management platform as well as a business credit card. They're using a proprietary underwriting process to give you higher limits than you normally would. And it's based on your banking activity and your spending patterns as well as your business history. There's absolutely no personal guarantee and there's absolutely no hard credit check. So that's another great thing. Now, I have pulled up here my account with Torpogo. Now, as you can see right here, they gave me a $30,000 credit limit. And one of the differences between Torpogo and Divi is that Divi, you do have to pay your balance off in full. So it's kind of like a net 30, but Torpogo actually allows you to revolve a balance. So I got a $30,000 credit limit without having to pull my personal credit. And they do report to the business credit reporting agency. So it will help you build business credit and it's hidden from your personal credit. So if you max it out, then it's not going to hurt your personal utilization. So Torpogo, in my opinion, is one of the best ones. Now, one of the differences I would say Torpogo versus Divi is that Torpogo is looking for a little bit more established businesses. So if you're brand new and you don't have any banking data, you could probably go to Divi, but with Torpogo, you're not going to be able to get anything, especially if you have very limited banking data. Next up, we have Brex. Now, Brex, I would say, is probably in the upper echelon when it comes to corporate credit as well as expense management platforms. Now, again, they offer a business credit card, kind of like a net 30. You do have to pay it off in full. There's no personal guarantee, as you can see right here. They highlighted you get higher limits and there's no personal guarantee. All of these expense management platforms are using the Plaid API. Basically, Plaid allows the financial institutions, the fintechs, to analyze your banking activity. So back in the day where you would have had to send in bank statements and stuff like that, you don't even need to do that now. They can just plug directly into your banking data, underwrite you based on your activity, and give you a credit limit. You will need a minimum of $100,000 in your business bank account. Now, that doesn't mean if you have 100,000, you automatically get approved. 100,000 is the minimum. So you could kind of infer that the types of businesses that they're looking to provide this solution for are going to be more established businesses in terms of the amount of cash flow that they have, the amount of deposits they have in their business bank account. At a minimum, you're going to need $100,000. Unless you're backed by some type of venture funding, then I believe you can get away with having 50,000. But for most people who aren't backed by a VC, then you're going to need a minimum of 100. And that's just the minimum. So you could have 100 and still get denied for this. Next up, we have Ramp. So I talked about how Divi has high requirements. Ramp is even higher. I would say out of all of the expense management and corporate credit cards that we're going to cover, Ramp is probably the hardest one to qualify because Ramp expects a minimum of $250,000 in your business bank account. So not everyone is going to necessarily qualify for it, but it's very similar to the other expense management platforms. They give you a corporate Visa credit card that you can use as well as the expense management platform. So for those businesses that do qualify, you could definitely check out Ramp. Next up, we have the Sam's Club Mastercard. Now, this is the one that everyone already knows about, right? And the only business credit card that exclusively uses business credit for the underwriting. And again, they don't even use a Paydex. They use your Experian and Telescore. You want to be at a low risk profile. Now, in order to get this, what you can do is just build up net 30 vendors. Once you have about anywhere from like 4 to 5, you should be pretty confident that you will get approved. The more vendors that you do have reporting, that's the key thing, right? Because you can sign up for all these vendors, but you have to wait until it actually posts before you can go and apply and get it without a personal guarantee. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind is that you do have to go in branch in order to apply. Now, you used to have to fill out a paper application. Now they have a little iPad that you could, do the application. Now, one thing you have to make sure, because a lot of the front end customer service employees don't know what the business credit application is, or they may confuse it with the personal application. So the personal application, it is a hard pull on your personal credit, but the business application, they give you the option of personally guaranteeing, but you don't have to. So just keep that in mind. If you don't want a hard inquiry, you have to let them know that, hey, I'm applying for business liability only. So just emphasize that. If they're asking for your personal social security number, then you just have to stop them in their tracks. I actually had to go probably like 3 different times, right, just to speak with the right person. So just keep that in mind. Next up, we have ClearCard. Now, ClearCard is one of the latest fintechs to offer a corporate credit card and expense management platform. Now, I like to think of ClearCard as the Tomo card of the business credit space. Now, the reason why I say that is because ClearCard is a little bit different. Like most of the expense management platforms, Brex, Divi, Ramp, you have to pay your balance off in 30 days. But with ClearCard, they're only giving you 7 days to repay your entire balance in full. So if that's something that you're not really comfortable with, or if that's too short of a time to repay your balance, then I wouldn't necessarily go for this one, but it still is a good option to have in your back pocket. Now, one thing about this, as I mentioned, it's a startup. They just launched, I think, late last 2020. And so in order to apply, you do have to schedule an appointment with one of their customer service. They'll give you the application, you fill it out, you email it back to them, and then they'll be able to underwrite you. And you're not going to get, crazy high limits with ClearCard, but this is just something to have in your back pocket. And again, you do have to pay the balance off in full within 7 days. Now, after a couple months, once you've kind of established a track record with them, they may extend it to like a net 30, but initially you're probably going to have to start with that net 7. So if that's something you're not comfortable with, then this one might not be an option for you. Next up, we have ClearBank. So ClearBank is tailored towards e-commerce types of business. So if you sell on Amazon, eBay, Shopify, right, this is a great resource for you. Now, again, as I mentioned, they're tailored towards e-commerce. Now, they go a little bit further than just looking at your banking activity. They're looking at your sales data as well. So you can integrate all of your sales and marketing data within their platform, and they do a holistic overview and underwriting process. So it's not just your banking activity, it's not just your personal credit score. They're looking at your sales. So if you have an e-commerce business that's doing sales, then this is a great option. Now, they offer a Visa credit card. Now, they give you basically a net 45 to pay it off in full. But if you don't pay it off in full, they give you the option of, just paying it back through your future sales. So they'll take like a daily percentage of your sales until the entire amount is paid off in full. So it's a little bit flexible, especially for e-commerce types of businesses. Their model is definitely unique. They integrate more than just one or two different data sources. They're looking at the full picture of your business. So this is a really unique one. Next up, we have First Merchants Bank of Texas. Now, we did a review on them. This is based off having a merchant account. Now, that is a requirement. So in order to accept like credit cards and things like that, if you already have a merchant account, that's fine. If you don't, they'll help you get one set up. Now, a couple things about this is they're soft pulling your Experian FICO 8 credit score in order to qualify you for an initial limit. Now, the initial limit goes up to $10,000. Now, in order to get that $10,000, I believe you have to be over an 800 on your Experian FICO 8. And they have different score ranges. So I think if you're like over 750 and between a 750 and a 799, then you can get 7,500, and then, so on and so forth. So you can get an initial limit, but then after 3 months, you can apply for a credit limit increase up to $100,000. Now, this is a Mastercard. You can pull cash off of it, you can swipe it, and they're not hard pulling you whatsoever. Now, you can either submit bank statements to get the credit limit increase, or since it's already tied to your merchant account, what they'll do is just look at your credit card processing to see if you qualify. So they can see what your activity is and underwrite you based off of that. So this is another great option. They do have an initial setup fee of $99.97, and they do have a monthly fee of $9.97. But this is just a good thing to have in your back pocket. Now, depending on the type of business that you have, like if you're in real estate, this probably isn't going to be for you unless you're like, someone who has rental properties and you allow your tenants to pay you with a credit card, then you might be able to finesse this a little bit. But for the most part, this is going to be for businesses that are actually transacting with customers and accepting credit cards. All right, next up, we have Charity Charge. Now, we did a review on them about 8-9 months ago. Now, this is another business credit card. They were originally designed for nonprofits. That's why the name Charity Charge. But they do offer 3 different business cards. They have one for nonprofit. They did have a personal credit card. I believe they've suspended it. And then they also have a for-profit. So if you're a business, a LLC, sole prop, you can apply for this particular card. Now, the underwriting process, you will have to provide tax returns and P&L. They may ask for financial statements and the balance sheet. Their underwriting process does take a couple weeks. So just keep that in mind. You're not going to get an instant decision on Charity Charge. Next up, we have SpinHub. We did a review on SpinHub. This is another expense management platform. So similar to Divi, similar to Torpogo. I think the difference is that this particular company is not backed by a large bank. So you're not going to get the highest limits that you would if you were to go to Ramp or Brex or Torpogo or Divi. They're looking for a minimum of $20,000 in your business bank account. Next up, and last but not least, the latest business credit card is Capital on Tap. We did a review recently. They just launched in the US back in early March. You can get a limit from $1,000 all the way up to $50,000. Now, in order to qualify, they are looking at your Experian business. So they're just soft pulling you on Experian business, and they're also soft pulling you on your Experian FICO 8. One thing to keep in mind is if you have your credit report frozen or if you have a fraud alert, that could prevent your application from being processed. So just keep that in mind. They give you 2 different options, a pay in full option, as well as an option to pay off a minimum of 10%. So it's a little bit more flexible, I would say, than like Divi, where you have to pay it off in full. You could basically revolve up to 90% of your balance. So the minimum payment is going to be 10% of whatever your statement amount is. So another great choice. If anyone's interested, I've posted links in the description of the video.